All right. So it's 10:31. Thank you for joining. As always, today the presentation is led by Alan Adams, the president and founder of Navazon Inc., and David Ruff, who's a senior account manager at Navazon. So let's jump right into it. Alan?
Thank you for joining us. There are a lot of updates and changes that have occurred due to COVID's impact on Amazon vendors, and crisis responses that continue to take place, and actions to consider. At the end, we'll address questions and answers, as Patrick mentioned. We'll jump right into what COVID's impacts are here in Seattle. If you go to the next slide, please. As we know, Amazon began expanding shipments to non-essential items the week of April 13th, and we've continued to see that orders are increasing. The consumer shift from physical to online stores is continuing to happen because Amazon is just one of the few options that are open. Target recently announced that its online sales have increased over 200% in many cases over this last period of time. Amazon's sales will continue and are expected to continue after things begin to settle out as well, because of the number of Prime members has been reported to be up at 118 million. Amazon's customers are expected to continue to climb in excess of that 118 million, because Amazon's also opening up opportunity to people with lower incomes. Amazon during this period has worked with, I believe it's the Department of Agriculture, to open up Amazon to individuals with lower incomes. They're now accepting what's considered SNAP electronic benefits, and also providing those individuals with free access to Amazon Fresh so that they could get groceries delivered. As you can see in the first image there, customers in several states, Alabama, Florida, Iowa, Nebraska, New York, Oregon, and Washington now have access, and Amazon continues to work with the Department of Agriculture to open up access to additional states. That enables lower income people access to Amazon and buying those groceries. And Amazon's also opening Prime to not only SNAP members, or SNAP participants, but also Medicaid customers. So if as people gain access to a Medicaid card, those individuals can get 50% off of a Prime membership. So this is expected to further expand the already very large customer set that Amazon has through its Prime program. In addition to expanding its customer base, it's also greatly expanding its capacity in terms of its logistics capabilities. In 2009, it had just 16 fulfillment centers in the United States. Now it has over 1,137 logistics facilities, and plans on adding a further 192 in just 2020 and 2021. It's considered the fourth largest delivery company in the United States already, and the Post estimates that Amazon is delivering 2.3 billion of its 4.5 billion packages. So over half of its packages to U.S. consumers, it's using its own logistics network, thousands of trucks and more than 40 aircraft already. By 2025, they're expecting that number will rise from 7.5 billion, or will be between 7.5 and 9.7 billion. So Amazon's logistics is growing at a phenomenal rate to also deliver additional packages. Here you can see visually, it makes a lot of sense. On the left-hand side, this is the actual impact in Seattle. The shelves in an Amazon Go store on the right-hand side of that first image. You can see the empty shelves. That was the toilet paper and paper towels. Paper towels on the bottom shelf, there are just a few of them. And that's the impact on Amazon Go store has been open during this period, so it shows Amazon's advantage in terms of being able to have stores open and have product being delivered to customers, versus the store on the right, a Gap store. You can see it's boarded up as if there's going to be a hurricane, and there's already graffiti covering the store coverings. So the retail online, the in-store is at a huge disadvantage right now in terms of reaching customers. So we mentioned that they are expanding shipments beyond non-essential items. As of the 13th, they've hired up more than 170 or up to 175,000 employees, so they're expanding their capacity. They specifically, this week specifically, we're seeing orders increasing for companies with low weeks of cover, which aligns with customer sales, which is traditionally what Amazon does. as it sells more, it's going to buy more. And so we see companies that have very high weeks of cover. Amazon's not buying much this week. However, with low weeks of cover, Amazon's starting to ramp those individual clients' accounts to get back into a normal alignment with customer sales. Though those stay-at-home orders are relaxing, consumers are still buying from online stores. States such as Colorado, Mississippi, Minnesota, and maybe some of the states that you are in may be reopening business this week. However, a survey found that only 33% of consumers feel safe shopping in a mall, compared with 54% who feel safe shopping in a grocery store, and 45% feel safe at a big box retailer. Expected that people will become more and more safe as there's a herd immunity and more medical resources are available and the infection rate continues to drop. However, the traffic to Amazon continues to increase during this. Mentioned the expanding acceptance of SNAP and Medicaid being Prime being available to SNAP and Medicaid customers for $5.99 per month. That's enabling them to access Prime at a lower price point. There was some initial coverage that Amazon was taking advantage of low-income people by trying to make Prime available, when in fact it's been found that individuals don't have access to transportation, and Prime or delivery to their home can actually save them money. Mention the fulfillment centers, logistics facilities increasing in Amazon to expand its capacity, with 2 FCs opening in May of this year alone. Another factor in the last bullet on this slide is about Amazon Books, Amazon 4-Star, Amazon Pop-Up, and some Amazon Go stores. The reason I mention this is that many of these specific stores are temporarily closed, and specifically Amazon is set until April 16th. Why I mention this is that this seems to be an indicator for Amazon, is that its transition of employees away from those areas, and as Amazon begins to see its operations internally go back to normal, it seems that this May 16th date is another anchor that they're putting into the ground. And as we see these Amazon Books or 4-Star or pop-up stores begin to open, that'll be an indicator that its internal operations are significantly closer to normal. With logistics and other things, you have to have employees that are being able to process and deliver. As much as Amazon has automated and expanded its robotic capabilities, it did recognize that employees are a very important piece of delivering for consumers. So they added an additional $2 per hour for hourly workers and provided double overtime pay for hourly workers until May 16th. This was an update. Initially, it was May 5th or May 1st, and they've extended it until May 16th. So again, a repeat of that May 16th date seems to be a reevaluation point for Amazon internally. On May 1st, Amazon says that employees must start reporting to work or request leave. In the past, they'd allowed them to just take leave as desired. Now they're requiring to start work or request leave, with the exception of high-risk individuals who are still eligible for leave to apply for that. Now, this has caused some turmoil. So although Amazon is paying more and has increased thermal scans to catch for illness within its facilities, as well as provided masks, there are workers that are upset with some of the activities, and this may cause intermittent disruptions in different places throughout Amazon's network. In the past, it has been limited to less than 300 people. Workers in New York are organizing a walkout strike on May 1st, which happens to be International Workers' Day. They're trying to get many people to walk out. Don't anticipate that in this time when many people are unemployed that a vast number will. However, they're projecting tens of thousands of people across Amazon, Instacart, and Walmart. If something like that were to occur, it could create a very significant, at least, stoppage for that one day, unless it continued for many days. A lot of uncertainties. Don't anticipate it, but it does seem to be gaining some additional momentum. Internationally, the proportion of online sales has reached a new record at 22.3% in March. So in terms of if you're reaching an international, consumer, online sales are definitely the place to be. It has accelerated the amount of sales online in an area where it had been anticipated that the population was much slower to be willing to accept online sales. It's now forced upon them with lockdown and stay at home. In France, there was a court that ordered Amazon to limit its trade to only essential goods, or to ship only essential goods. Amazon found it very difficult to define what that means. It wasn't easy to filter through its millions of items and tell its systems not to ship some items but ship others. So instead of being liable for I think it was $2.2 million fine for every item, Amazon chose to stop its activities at French warehouses and has extended that day from April 22nd and April 22nd and 28th to further until May 5th. Even with this, goods are still available through dropship and other European fulfillment centers. Something that you may see in every one of your accounts, we saw in many accounts that we have, our client accounts, is that product suppressions are continuing to happen. This week, we've received many compliance notifications, and these are now occurring on a weekly basis. In parentheses is the quote that Amazon provided. They say that they are helping customers better find products, and to do that, they've increased controls on products. In this case, in yellow highlight, it says Amazon is sidelining the products listed above for review. And so if you see this, there's a couple of ways that you can get notified about this. One is through an email. If you're listed in Amazon to receive that notification, you might have received the email. If you didn't receive an email, you might check on the right-hand side in the image. You go under items, select vendor certificates, and it would list the needs in there. Many items are mistakenly identified and suppressed from the website. So I suggest we are checking that for all of our clients and making sure that anything that is sidelined, we have a case filed to get that unsuspended. Delayed deliveries are another thing that continue to happen, but those also are less common, as Amazon, not only its fulfillment centers and processing are getting back to a higher capacity to deliver, they're also cutting down the delivery times. In this case, this product is currently unavailable for delivery to a specific region due to high demand, but those items are decreasing and finding that the products are being able to be shipped.
Okay, so with the COVID-19 pandemic that's happening, as we've mentioned, Amazon has suspended a lot of things within Vendor Central. So here's a list of some of the things that are currently suspended and some of the things that are currently actually working right now. So if I go through the list here, just to highlight a few things, new dropship account setup has now been suspended. So if you don't have dropship already set up for your Vendor Central account, you're not going to be able to set that up. If you do have it set up, you'll still be able to add warehouses though within that. Born to Run is currently only accepting high priority clients or vendors within there. So if you're currently not able to access Born to Run and you believe that you have products that should be available to consumers, you can put a ticket in and you can see if they will let you be enrolled in the program. Some of the other things that are still suspended that we've been mentioning here every week is things like buying, coupons, best deals, lightning deals, deal to days. Those items are also still suspended. We're expecting most of this stuff to start opening up and becoming active again during May as states start to open up and business goes back to normal. We'll keep this chart updated and then we'll make changes here as we see things opening back up within Amazon. In terms of operations for Amazon, the surge purchase orders that we saw before when we were seeing them in March and then even in the April timeframe are starting now to drop down to reflect actual customer sales. So if you're seeing high customer demand, we expect that basically to continue, so your POs will reflect that. It does look like POs are a little bit still behind as we're seeing surges in the clients that we work with that had high sales in the past. If your sales did not materialize during the pandemic or remain low during the pandemic, then those POs have kind of caught up with that and it's kind of matching that. And again, we would expect that to continue where now the POs are going to start to align more with your consumer sales as Amazon operations go back to normal, especially during the May timeframe. When we talk about forecasts a little bit later, that might be one indication based upon what you're seeing to update your forecast as well. Dropship orders, that's another indication also. So that's still remaining high in the relative categories where we saw high consumer demand. Again, that's indicating that Amazon POs have yet to catch up with the increased demand there. And then it also indicates that Amazon is underbuying right now. A lot of times, like me as an ISM, I would normally underbuy as well if we didn't know what future demand was, especially because forecasting is backwards looking. More than likely, it hasn't caught up to the changes in demand that's been a result of the pandemic. And then, of course, Amazon still has some capacity restraints. We're seeing that also sometimes with some of the shipping with the truck companies where shippers are not running right now and Amazon has to reroute, and that's causing delay in PO pickups if you're using Amazon's carriers. As we mentioned, though, Born to Run's got no change right now. But again, if you have products that you feel should be offered through there, try and open up a ticket. If you had products that were on there, those dates are still remaining the same as we mentioned last week, where they're being extended there. So that way you do have more time to sell through on those products. There's been no change in chargebacks at all. So all the information that we're seeing within Amazon is May 1st is still the date for them. So expect chargebacks to start again on May 1st. So if you got any POs that are open or any products that have not shipped on POs that you want to accept it, make sure you do go and down confirm those or close out those POs. In terms of forecasting, as we mentioned, right now it looks like the current forecasts are estimating the impact of the virus to start to end towards end of May, where things are going to go back to a normal level. We expect online consumer demand to decrease as states open up and consumers start to go out and buy stuff again at stores as they open. But we do expect the demand to be higher than the forecasted pre-pandemic level. So again, if you're working with us, make sure that your account manager is redoing your forecast or giving you a new forecast based upon what the demand actually is. And just checking that as the time goes on based upon what your actual consumer sales are showing. So here's actually some responses from an Amazon advertising newsletter that they put out. So according to the Amazon newsletter, 52% of U.S. consumers have shopped for groceries online recently because of the COVID-19 pandemic, and 20% are first-time shoppers. By the end of the crisis, 1 in 10 people will have become accustomed to buying their groceries online. And then also respondents indicated they expect to continue spending more than half of what they are currently spend grocery shopping online after the pandemic ends. And one of the things that we do want to point out here is that the consumers that are buying groceries, in general, they normally end up purchasing a lot more products online than the consumers that don't buy groceries. That's actually one thing we used to highlight when I worked at Amazon Fresh, was that the consumers that are buying groceries online have bigger basket sizes because they end up buying other items as they shop for those grocery products. Here's some Amazon advertising data that we've seen. So overall, the Amazon traffic still remains high as consumers continue to shop on Amazon. And again, we expect that to remain higher than the pre-pandemic levels, just as more shoppers shift their shopping to Amazon and just online in general. We're seeing an increase in crisis-related search terms, as we mentioned last week. So it's pretty much broken down into 3 different categories. So survival, which is including stuff like your basic necessities, that's food, disinfectants, things that are going to kill the virus, things that are surrounding quarantine. So games, whether that's video games, board games, basically it's things to do. Also things along with the lines of home office, so such as like desks for the office, bed desks, things like that, so they can work from home. And then we're also seeing things around what we would call improvement, which is either fixing the house, so home improvement, or self-improvement, including things such as like workout equipment, just to get in better shape as they're stuck at home. We're still seeing, in terms of promotions, the Gold Box page is still removed from Amazon.com. It is available, though, for Amazon Business buyers. That's still running. Deal of the days, lightning deals, and coupons have stopped. I mean, the whole reason why they've stopped this is just because of the problems that they've had in the past. Again, we're expecting that to start to resume here in the month of May. You're still more than likely getting emails, or the automated emails being sent about Prime Day. I actually just received some this morning saying to submit your Prime Day deals by May 8th. That's just an automated email. Amazon should be sending an update for that because you can't actually schedule any of the deals just yet. Prime Day is still expected to be delayed. It's supposed to occur in August from what we've heard, and the category events are still canceled from May from what we've seen. What is still running is price discounts and promo codes. They've remained active the entire time. and then the business level discounts also remain active. So again, we highly encourage you to take advantage of that if you can, just to try and get your products out there and give a reason for consumers to buy them as this increased shopping is happening online.
From the high-level internal adjustments that Amazon's making to the very small details of individual products and their status on Amazon, we're keeping our eyes on the accounts to make sure that we have everything growing for your business the way that it should be in this period. This slide just shows one of the tools that we have internally. At the bottom portions of it have individual ASINs blocked out, but it's one of the many pages that our account managers are looking at to make sure that we understand that your product is in stock and doing the best it can. This in particular page is around dropship, and you can see that we have the ability to add dropship product or products in dropship, add inventory, and then also start advertising. We use things like these internally to make sure that we've got our eye on the products that aren't selling and are suppressed because of changes during this period, such as Amazon's COVID suppressions, to making sure that they have the best digital representation and that we can start advertising those products as Amazon either funding becomes available internally or additional funds become available as conditions change for every one of our clients' businesses. And I see that we had one question come across: what are Amazon 4-star stores? That's one of the many store formats that Amazon has released to make products available. It's a store in which Amazon selects 4-star products within categories and only 4-star or higher products and makes those available typically in metropolitan areas. There's one here in Seattle, and I think there's one in New York as well. And so as these smaller store formats start coming online, it's an indicator that Amazon is shifting its resources back to what are considered non-essential businesses for Amazon right now.
So Alan, I did get a question earlier this week about content projects. So at this time, what are some of the catalog projects or content projects that we can be working on during this time period to help refresh our catalog?
Oh, great question, Patrick. The content, there's always adjustments that can be made in terms of improvements. A specific one for this period is to see if there are keywords that people might be focused on. If there's emergency food was one I think that we suggested last week. We have been able to see keywords that might apply to products that we currently have, or a way that consumers are searching differently. So to make those adjustments to the content, potentially on the front end, so the detail page itself as well as the back end, can help the products show up in search. It's also a great time if top selling products don't have A+ pages to be able to use the marketing resources, or perhaps individuals that have time internally to provide additional content. It would be great to get that to populate A+ pages, or adjust brand stores if there's separate or different messaging that you want to put out at this time. There may be particular products around disinfection or protective masks, for example, that if you have that type of product available, there might be different messaging and a call out that we could make an adjustment to a brand store to highlight those products. Are there others, Patrick? I know you're an expert in the content area. Are there fine tunings that you would highlight?
Yeah, I think those were good areas to highlight. Another thing would be to look through the live appearance of the catalog. So this is something that we are doing internally for all of our clients and vendors that we work with, is actually checking detail pages to make sure that our content and the correct content is flowing through correctly to the site. So one of the things that we've started doing is creating perfect catalogs. So that way you have a record of your perfect catalog, the information that you want on your detail pages. And that way, when we notice issues or things that don't match up, we can go through and correct them fairly quickly.
Great. I saw there was one other question. I mentioned a 22.3% earlier in the presentation. It was asked, what does that percentage represent? To clarify, that represents that e-commerce sales are expected to grow in the United Kingdom, and they will be 22.3% of total retail. So it's incredible to think how far online has come, particularly around the world. As we have in the past, we'll continue this weekly call until we see changes go back to normal. We'll try to highlight all the changes that have occurred. And as you can see this week, we are highlighting the program specifically so that you could access one slide of the whole presentation if you wanted to see if those activities or programs by Amazon have turned back on. Individual programs are particularly important for some accounts and not for others. So we wanted to put that summary together in that chart so that you could see if Born to Run is critically important when it comes back on versus advertising or promotions may be more important to you. You could at a glance select that one slide if you don't have time to attend each week and see those changes that are happening. We will continue to monitor with the tools that we have to provide the continuous updates and changes that we're facing. The new tools that we have to adjust to this new environment are enabling us to adapt to the changes that are occurring and will continue to occur, and we'll continue to make fixes across counts. We see changes have accelerated from product suspensions all the way to content changes being changed. So as it has been in the past, it's a game of continuous monitoring and updates. We are happy to be here for our clients to make sure that happens every week. We appreciate you attending this morning. Have a great day.